presenter. I am the future Mrs. Raincloud, and I wanted to do a video for Daft because he has been really sick over the last week, and it's one of the downsides of running your business based on your voice, and without his voice he can't make content, and I think it's something for both of us we've realised is really important, both for my business and for his channel, that our health, I think, is something we've taken for granted a little bit. So I wanted to jump on his behalf and give the disclaimer here that ASMR and whispering is not my wheelhouse, so I'm going to give it a go today in his honour. In my own business I'm significantly louder, so I'm going to try and keep my hands and gesturing under control and stick with the spirit of his channel. So just as kind of backstory about what's happening for him at the moment, a few weeks ago we both got the flu. We got really sick and we thought it was fine, didn't go to the doctors, we're at home, felt sorry for ourselves, and we got better. But then he got sick again, and I think part of why he didn't want to go to the doctors was because, I guess, in America the health system he's used to is significantly different to the way that it's kind of structured here in Australia. And because he's on a visa and he doesn't have travel insurance, he was reluctant to go to the doctors. So he told himself that he would be fine, and he's had really high fevers and an awful cough for about a week, and then finally his appetite was gone. Like, I was getting really worried about him, and then last night he was struggling to breathe, so I booked him in for a doctor's appointment, and we went in, and just to give some numbers for comparison, it was $80 for the consultation with the doctor. That's $80 Australian. So it was reasonable. We could have gone to the doctor sooner, but when we got there, the doctor said that he wasn't happy with his symptoms, and he did some tests like oxygen, and he told us that we needed to go to the emergency room in the hospital, and that he suspected that he had severe pneumonia, which freaked us both out. And I'm woman enough to admit that I have not been the most rational today because of how emotional it was. And we got to the hospital, and he had to pay $500 Australian upfront for an emergency doctor consultation, triage and pathology, so to get some tests done, which realistically is still pretty reasonable. We were in the hospital for about 6 hours. They gave him an IV drip, they gave him pain relief, they gave him a chest x-ray, and they've sent him home with antibiotics, and we have to follow up with the doctor in 5 days just to see how he's going. Now, the emergency doctor said that he didn't think it was severe pneumonia. The first doctor might have been a bit more cautious, and died, but he said it was probably still mild pneumonia, so that's what he's being treated for at the moment. But he's been bedridden for a week, and I know it's really difficult for him because this channel's been really important for him for a long time now, and he really loves the community and the audience that he's built around this channel. So I know that for him, he keeps telling himself, tomorrow I can record another video. So on his behalf, I said that I would do this video for him, not just as an update, but also I thought it would be fun to give you guys a behind the scenes of what he's really like, and give you 5 things that you might not know about Daft, about his real life. And yes, I checked with him first whether my list was acceptable, because I'm respectful like that. Alright, so number 1, he is incredibly food motivated. So when I say that he's lost his appetite while being sick, that's heartbreaking for him, because he appreciates food. It's a whole new level. So when we are looking at places to go on a date, or when we're traveling overseas, one of the first things he looks for is food places in the area, what kind of food they're serving, what the reviews are like, what the food looks like, and he will probably put 60% of his research time into where we're going to be eating, what it's going to be. Most of the time he's already picked out on the menu before we've even gotten there. So I think when he talks about food, there's this deeper appreciation for the flavours and kind of the history behind the place, whether it's like a particular culture or creative themes and stuff like that. So that's number 1. Number 2 is he's actually a really good writer. So I don't know how much he's talked about how we met. It seems like a weird thing to talk about, but we actually met when I was 15, or when we were 15, and it was on a forum online. That was a geeky role-playing forum, so you actually wrote stories with other people, and you would design this like character, and you would write these stories with other people. And it sounds really geeky now, but I think it was something that we've always shared. So I'm a published author, and I know that he wants to be published one day, and it's a really important creative expression outlet for him, like this channel is. So I think it's something that he keeps very close to his heart. He doesn't really share his writing that much these days, and I think it's partly because he's such a perfectionist, and because it means so much to him. So I really hope that one day he gives himself the opportunity to publish some of the stuff he's written. I know I'd like to read more of it, so would other people. But it's I think an important part of himself that maybe he doesn't acknowledge as much as he should. The next one, not so serious. He loves tiny houses. I don't know how many are going to be familiar with the tiny house movement. Basically houses built on trailers, on wheels, or shipping containers being converted and things like that. And he is definitely not built for a tiny house. So Daft is 6'3", and we've gone to tiny houses and tiny house expos, and that man has to duck to go under doorways and not hit his head on lofts. And his shoe collection could probably fill a tiny house. There's another confession that I'll drop. But he loves them. So I think that's probably in our future. Maybe not tiny houses. He'll have to admit at some point that he's not quite tiny house sized, but maybe a smaller house. There's something comforting about having that smaller space, and when we travel, we tend to travel quite light. I know in Canada we had quite a small loft, and in Japan it was even smaller, but it's quite amusing compared to my 5'2". If you've seen his Japan travel videos, there's quite a height difference, and I'm fine. I'm tiny house size, but him, not so much. Number 4. Oh, he's going to hate me mentioning this one. So, when he is watching any kind of sports game, like a wrestling match, anything like that, his facial expressions are so expressive. You could know what was going on in the game just by watching his face alone. I think it was WrestleMania when The Undertaker came out. You heard that bell toll. His face, there was just so much expression, and it's so funny to me as someone who knows him really well, because if you were having a really serious conversation with him about really important things like our wedding or our health, even being at the hospital, he has no expression. So to see his face just light up with that much facial expression during sports games and wrestling matches, it's quite funny. And the last one, number 5, is yes, he is a nice guy in real life. And this is something I know I had to wonder about because our relationship started online. Like I said, we've known each other for years, a really long time now. But I think there's always a part of you that wonders if they're going to be like that in real life. And he is such a genuine, sincere, caring person. And he's also going to hate me for putting this one on the list. But he said it was fine. But he really is like that in real life. And it's been quite sweet to see him read the messages from everyone who's posted on here and sending him messages to, feel better soon, because I know it really does mean something to him, and I love that he's built this community for himself, because he puts so much time and effort into making this content, and I know how much my community and my business, my audience means to me, and I really appreciate that he treats his work and his channel with the same kind of care. So yes, if you've ever wondered if he's actually who he says he is, he actually is like this in real life. He's the real deal. He's a really great guy. So that is my 5 things that I can share about Daft, and just an update about what's going on and why his content hasn't been dropping lately. Hopefully now that he's got